Once upon a time, in a quiet green meadow filled with tall grass and singing crickets, there lived a little mouse named Rusty. Rusty was a country mouse. He lived in a tiny burrow under an old oak tree. His house was on Tea Fancy, just a cozy hole with soft grass for a bed and a few grains of wheat tucked in a corner for meals. Rusty was happy. He spent his days running through the fields, nibbling on corn, and chatting with birds and butterflies. Life was peaceful and calm in the countryside. One sunny morning, as Rusty was enjoying a breakfast of wheat and fresh berries, he heard a familiar squeak. It was his cousin Max, the town mouse. Max looked very different from Rusty. He wore a shiny little jacket, had a fancy belt made from thread, and smelled like cheese from a bakery. "Rusty, my dear cousin," Max squeaked. "It's been so long. How are you living out here in this simple place?" Rusty smiled. "I'm doing just fine, Max. Life is simple but good. Come sit, I'll share my breakfast." Max looked at the plain food, just grains, a few nuts, and some berries. He wrinkled his nose. "My poor cousin," Max said, "you live such a hard life. You must come to the town with me. I'll show you how wonderful it is, soft beds, fancy food, and delicious cheese everywhere." Rusty tilted his head. "Really? That sounds amazing." "Yes," said Max proudly. "In the city, I dine like a king every night." Rusty thought for a moment. His life was peaceful, but he was curious. Maybe the town really was more exciting. So the next morning, Rusty packed a few crumbs for the road and followed Max to the city. They traveled all day, across fields and roads, until the lights of the town began to sparkle in the distance. Rusty's eyes widened. He had never seen anything so bright and busy. There were tall houses, glowing windows, carriages rolling by, and the smell of freshly baked bread in the air. Finally, they reached Max's home, a little hole in the wall of a grand mansion. Rusty peeked inside and gasped. It was filled with bits of fine cloth for bedding, shiny paper decorations, and tiny pieces of furniture stolen from the humans above. "Welcome to my home," Max said proudly. "Now, wait till you see the dinner table." That night, when the humans went to bed, the two mice crept into the grand dining room. The table was covered with all kinds of food, cheese, butter, cake, fruits, and even meat pies. Rusty's mouth watered. "Wow, Max, this is amazing." They climbed up onto the table and began to nibble on a piece of cheese. Rusty had never tasted anything so delicious. "You were right, cousin. Town life is wonderful," he said with his mouth full, but suddenly crashed. A loud noise came from the kitchen door. The floor trembled, and a huge cat padded into the room. Its golden eyes glowed in the dark. Max froze. "Oh no. It's the cat," he whispered. The two mice ran as fast as they could. Their tiny feet scrambled across the table, knocking over crumbs and plates. The cat leaped after them. Swish! Its paw missed Rusty by an inch. They dove into a hole in the wall just in time. The cat hissed and scratched at the hole, but couldn't reach them. Rusty's heart pounded. "Do you always have to run from the cat?" Rusty asked, still shaking. Max sighed. "Yes, sometimes the humans chase us too, but look at the food we get. Isn't it worth it?" Rusty looked out at the grand table again. All that food, shining plates, golden candles, and then he looked at the cat's sharp claws and remembered how scared he felt. He shook his head slowly. "Cousin Max, I thank you for showing me your fine home and your wonderful feasts. But I think I prefer my simple life in the countryside." Max looked surprised. "Really? But don't you love the cheese and cake?" Rusty smiled kindly. "Yes, it's delicious, but it's not worth being scared every night. I'd rather have dry grains in peace than fancy food in fear." The next morning, Rusty said goodbye and made the long journey back home. When he reached his cozy burrow under the oak tree, he took a deep breath. The air smelled of grass and flowers. Birds chirped above him, and the wind whispered through the leaves. Rusty sat down to eat a small meal of wheat and berries. It wasn't much, but he felt safe, calm, and happy. He thought of Max always running from cats and humans, and smiled softly. As the sun set over the fields, Rusty whispered to himself, "It's better to live a simple life in peace than a fancy life in fear." And with that, he snuggled into his warm bed of grass and fell fast asleep, dreaming sweet, quiet dreams, the dreams of a country mouse who had found his peace. Moral: simple life brings more peace than luxury.